6 seconds. That's all you got. In 2013, an app called Vine exploded onto the scene with a simple but weird idea. Videos could only be 6 seconds long. No more, no less. And somehow, this bizarre limitation sparked a creative revolution. Vine stars became legitimate celebrities. Brands threw millions at 6-second ads. The app racked up 200 million users. For a hot minute, Vine was the biggest thing on the internet. And then, just as quickly as it rose, Vine died. Twitter shut it down in 2016, barely 3 years after launch. Meanwhile, apps doing the same thing, TikTok, went on to dominate the world. So what the hell happened? How did Vine go from unstoppable to dead in the water while TikTok became a billion-dollar empire doing essentially the same thing? This is a masterclass in how to completely fumble a winning hand. Vine didn't just stumble into success, it was lightning in a bottle from day one. The app launched in January 2013, and within months, it was the most downloaded free app in the iOS store. People were obsessed. The 6-second limit forced creativity in ways nobody expected. You couldn't ramble, you couldn't waste time, every frame had to count. And the content? Absolute chaos in the best way possible. You had comedy sketches that set up and delivered punchlines faster than a YouTube video could finish its intro. You had stop-motion masterpieces. You had the birth of internet legends, King Bach, Lele Pons, and the Paul brothers. Yeah, those guys got their start on Vine. The app was a cultural phenomenon. Vines were getting millions of loops. That's what they called views. People were quoting Vines in school hallways. Quotes like, "Why you always lying? Roadwork ahead. It is Wednesday, my dudes." These weren't just videos. They were the memes that defined a generation. Twitter saw the potential early. They bought Vine for $30 million before it even officially launched. At the time, that seemed smart, acquiring the next big thing before it exploded. But here's where the cracks started forming. By 2015, Vine had a massive problem, and it all came down to one thing. Their biggest stars were broke. Well, not broke exactly, but they weren't making money from Vine itself. The app had zero monetization features, no ad revenue sharing, no creator fund, no built-in way to turn millions of loops into actual dollars. So Vine stars did what anyone would do. They started using Vine as a billboard to direct people elsewhere. Follow me on YouTube. Check out my Instagram. Every Vine became an ad for platforms that actually paid creators. The top stars were getting increasingly frustrated. They'd helped build Vine into a cultural juggernaut, and Twitter was basically ignoring them. So in 2015, 18 of Vine's biggest creators demanded a meeting with Twitter executives, and they came with a proposal. Pay us $1.2 million to keep posting on Vine. Twitter's team panicked. If they started paying Vine creators, what's next? Would people demand money for tweets too? The precedent seemed dangerous, but losing all their top talent would be a disaster. The app's popularity was built on these stars. Without them, what did Vine even have? Twitter seriously considered the deal. They debated internally. They crunched numbers until they realized something. The creators didn't want $1.2 million total to split between them. They wanted $1.2 million each. Twitter looked at the math. Vine was already losing money, nowhere near profitable, and said no. And just that fast, the exodus began. Once the top creators started leaving, Vine entered a death spiral it couldn't escape. Stars migrated to YouTube, where they could make actual money from ads. They went to Instagram, where they could build bigger audiences without a 6-second constraint. Some even went to Snapchat, which was throwing cash at creators to build their platform. And Vine? Vine just watched it happen. Twitter made some half-hearted attempts to fix things. They extended video length to 140 seconds, killing the very constraint that made Vine special. They introduced a featured section to promote creators, but by then, the talent had already moved on. User growth stalled. Engagement dropped. The cultural moment passed. Meanwhile, competition was heating up. Instagram launched video features. Snapchat was exploding. YouTube was still the king of video, and Vine was bleeding out with no clear strategy to stop it. By October 2016, Twitter pulled the plug. They announced Vine was shutting down. The app would become a camera. You could watch old Vines, but not post new ones. The internet mourned. Hashtags trended. Creators posted emotional goodbye videos. But let's be real, most people had already left anyway. Here's what makes Vine's death so frustrating. Another app came along, copied the core idea, and built a billion-dollar empire. TikTok launched internationally in 2017, literally the year Vine died. And ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, had clearly studied Vine's mistakes. First, they threw money at creators from day one. They didn't wait for stars to get frustrated. They proactively paid influencers to post content. They created a creator fund. They built a whole marketplace connecting brands and creators for sponsorship deals. Second, they didn't let creators get too powerful. Vine's stars became bigger than the platform itself. TikTok's algorithm made sure no single creator was irreplaceable. Your For You page didn't need any specific person. The algorithm would just find you someone new. Third, they made monetization native to the app. Live stream tipping, in-app shopping, brand partnerships managed directly through TikTok. Creators could build entire careers without ever leaving the platform. And fourth, maybe most importantly, TikTok had better tech. Their recommendation algorithm was scary good. While Vine relied on you following the right people, TikTok just fed you endless content based on your interests. You could spend hours scrolling and never run out of videos. Vine had proven the demand for short-form video. They'd built the audience, trained the creators, established the format, and then they fumbled it so badly that a Chinese startup ate their lunch, stole their users, and became one of the most valuable private companies on Earth. So what really killed Vine? You could blame Twitter for not investing enough. You could blame the creators for demanding too much money. You could blame the lack of monetization, the competition, the poor timing. But honestly, Vine died because Twitter treated it as a fun side project instead of a legitimate business. They never built a sustainable model for paying creators. They never invested in the tech to keep up with competitors. They never gave Vine the resources it needed to evolve. And when things got tough, instead of doubling down, they just shut it off. The tragedy is that Vine had everything: the users, the cultural momentum, the first mover advantage. They could have been TikTok. They should have been TikTok. Instead, they're a cautionary tale about what happens when you ignore your creators, fail to monetize, and underestimate how quickly the internet moves on. Rest in peace, Vine. You gave us some of the greatest 6 seconds of content the internet has ever seen. You just couldn't figure out how to make it last longer than that.